Well, I don't know how much more propane I have, but we're going to get done what we can with what I've got, and then I'll have to go get some more this morning. NJ, Cody Ironworks, blacksmith in real life. I spent all last night running back and forth from city council meetings to town hall meetings with state representatives, and never thought I would be a political person, but apparently in my old age, that's what I'm doing. We're working on hooks for hat racks today. Yeah. So we're gonna wait for the forge to warm up, and then we're gonna do some forging. If anybody has any questions about forging, blacksmithing, being an old man, or anything like that, I could probably answer those questions. So, good morning, everybody. Feel like you can go in and let me know where you're from. Somewhere I have some horseshoes that I did. It's going to heat up. Go. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Gringo. See? Blanca. I'm as white as you can get. Blanco. ¿Dónde está Don Juan? It doesn't take very long for this forge to warm up, but it's a hurry up and wait game, blacksmithing. Argentina. Bien. I've never been. I've just barely been to Mexico. Tierras Gaucha. Oh. I was a cowboy many years ago. Yeah, I don't know if this is going to happen or not. I guess we'll just have to see what my propane looks like. It feels like there's some left in there, but I don't know. Yeah, I do some silver work, which is kind of precious metal. So I have worked with some precious metal, some silver, never gold too much. It's way too expensive. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Oh, are you referring to my hat? This was a much bigger hat once, and now it's not. And I don't know. I don't know who's coming on and saying naughty things, but it's not working out. The AI is withholding your comments. So I love it. Yay! There we go. We're slowly heating up here. Yeah. Well, I guess that's okay. I've changed the style of hats I wear over the years. I used to wear a cowboy hat every day, but this was a much easier hat to get in and out of a car with. And it's more to keep the top of my head warm than it is to protect me from the sun anymore because I'm mostly inside. So we're doing hooks. I'll show you. I'm going to work on a bunch of these. I am a real blacksmith, and a lot of what I do is production work. And so I'm working on doing a bunch of these up today. I'm also doing some other back plates for some wall hooks. Just the minutia of the everyday blacksmithing. I'm not doing anything particularly sexy. I know I'm going to have some weeds to cut this year, so I'm working on I'm going to work on a little miniature sickle so I can go chop the weeds as they get grown up. I'm going to build myself something. I think I'm going to bend this up a little bit to make it a little easier to use in a standing position. That's a piece of, so I've got pretty much the shape I want, but I got to harden it. I'm not exactly sure I got enough propane left to get it hot. And then spurs. So I'm going to work on the shank for this spur at some point today. But mostly I'm just trying to get the Etsy orders done today is what I'm doing. If I got enough propane to do it. That's the bad part about these propane tanks is you really can't tell how much propane you have left in them. So you pretty much have to keep two around and or three, and take them back and fill them all the time. Uh, and always try to have one full around. And of course, we've had a bunch of winter weather here in Cody, and I haven't done that. And so I might have to do it today. I might have to take this tank. I might have to take a couple of these tanks down and fill them today. So we'll just see how it goes this morning. I haven't been live since last week, so I thought I'd come on. Chaos in which I live. Yeah, well, I don't know if you've ever been into a blacksmith shop, but most of them are chaos. In fact, I've very rarely been into a working shop that didn't have some kind of chaos. If they don't have some chaos in them, then you're not busy. Yeah, if you've got clean tables and clean forward floors and stuff, yeah. Single piece set of spurs at some thick rebar I have. Yeah, because I have the air hammer or the power hammer, I have the ability to make. Um, I can reforge any size of material I want. The last pair of spurs I made out one piece spurs I did out of a piece of some big round stock like this, and they turned out all right. But I have very little finished stuff to show you here because as I build it, it's gone. Um, Especially this time of year because I'm getting ready to we're getting ready rolling into spring, and I'm getting ready for tourist season, so I'm taking everything I finish that isn't going onto the Etsy store downtown and putting it in the stores. So, but I've probably done, I don't know, 20 sets of spurs, something like that. I do some bits. I have done some bits. I wish I could make a living doing bits and spurs. I really enjoy that work, but it's hard. You can't really do that. I'm going to do a lot of knives this year. The rabbit. You keep asking me about the rabbit. The rabbit is going to get done. Hopefully, as soon as the weather straightens out and I can use the outside forge, I'm doing the rabbit body. Here's his body. Here's the rabbit's body. So I've got him prepped. He's ready to go, but I can't get enough of this in the forge to make it worthwhile to do in this little forge. And the big forge makes it so hot in here that I need to be able to open the door if I'm going to use the big 3-burner forge or use the cold forge. So, but well, I'm just ready for the day. You want to see his face again? So everybody knows. Here's the rabbit. My little jackrabbits. So yeah, that's where we're at. That's so funny. I'm glad you're consistent. Consistency is good. Keep asking me about it, and it'll get done. It'll happen. It'll happen. I'm sure the guy who ordered it, he's going to be back in Cody this summer. He's going to want his rabbit, and I'd like to have a second one done that I can take down and put in the art lake. I'd like to have another one down there. So, all right, how we do this? Well, we're gathering up a little heat. Kangaroo, jackrabbits. Well, kangaroos if you want, I guess. But I don't know. Does a kangaroo have a nose like that? Maybe they do. Here we have these big rabbits that are called jackrabbits, and they have big, long ears. They're a desert rabbit. Kangaroo, hilarious. As far as I know, there are no native kangaroos in Wyoming, as far as I know. I don't have any finished spurs in this shop. Anything that I have built, as far as spurs go, is gone. I try to keep a pair around, but I have no luck. Every time I get a pair built, even for myself, they get sold. So it's just the nature of what I do. I had a really bad oops last week. Well, not a really bad oops. I had a oops. So I hardened all these knives up, and then I put them. I have an oven over here that I use to temper them, and somehow or another the the oven got turned up a little too high, and I took my hardness out of my damn knives. See how blue they are? So that means I got them too hot. The blue is so every one of these is going to have to be rehardened and retempered because you do not want them to be blue. That means that they went back to soft. How many do I have there? So sorry. That's the internet in Cody, Wyoming, I'm afraid. Sorry about that. We're kind of out here at the end of the world. I guess I need to get some Starlink. I think for this process, I'm going to get a bigger hammer. Good. Glad to hear it. Well, keep working at it. You know, the best thing you can learn to do as a new blacksmith is make tools. That's going to serve you. Learn how to make tools and learn how to sharpen drill bits. There. The forge is a little slow to warm up this morning. Once that tank gets down to a certain level of fullness, it doesn't venturi very good. And so, yeah, I make tons of knives, tons and tons of knives. I was just showing some. Here's a bunch that I'm going to have to reharden. This is all my tourist knives that I do. Yeah, you want to use mild steel for your tongs. You don't want to use tool steel because the heat cycling that you get during forging with the tongs, yeah, they don't like that. That carbon steel, that tool steel doesn't like it. And so you want to use mild steel for your tongs. But I do all kinds of knives. I even do little mini draw knives, all kinds. Refuse using a few alloys. It's always. Yeah, black. John, as far as I'm concerned, John, John and I are probably the best two blacksmiths on YouTube right now. we put out more content than anybody, and we do a lot of videos that help people as far as educators, as far as blacksmith educators go. I think John is, you know, his filming is fantastic. I've never met the man. I'd like to. Um, thank you. Yeah, and John's got, you know, John's got a retirement fund that he gets from being a ex-fireman. So he's got all the tools. He's got, you know, the Anyang hair power hammer, and he's got an induction forge, and he's got some tools that I could never afford to have in my shop. So, but yeah, I think he's an excellent blacksmith and a good teacher. He does a lot of really good videos. So that's about as big of a hammer as I'm going to swing one-handed. I think it's probably 5 pounds, and I won't swing it much. It's really hard to do good. Yeah, I need to upgrade my phone. Would help, and get good internet in this blacksmith shop. But this blacksmith shop is a metal building, and the internet does not like it in here. That's about the biggest hammer I'm going to swing, and I'm not going to do it a bunch. So that's about 5 pounds. And you can't do fine work with it. So when I'm moving, like on the heels of those horseshoes, I'm moving some material. I draw this out once in a while just to knock them down. It saves me a few swings. And then you'll see I'll switch to about a 36-ounce rounding hammer here next. Yeah, you get a technique and you learn. You know, I see guys trying to swing an 8-pound hammer, and that's if you're going to have one hammer, this is the hammer to have. Um, and the other thing that if you want to really save your arms from getting tinnitus, your wrists, square your handles up. Square up your handles. That's the one tip that every new blacksmith should know. Quit using oval or round handles. Get a horseshoe and rasp out and square them up. And a rounding hammer is probably the most used hammer. Yeah, if this is the one, this is for me. This is the one hammer to rule them all. I've got about 5 of them in the shop, and I don't know that they make this size and this style anymore. This is a diamond. It's what I started with 36 years ago. So it's what I use. Yeah, I'm not swinging a 5-pound hammer all day. You swing this one for 8 hours a day and you'll be wore out. I can't imagine swinging a 5-pounder all day. So that's the sculpting part of that. Yeah. Like I've got some cross beams, but I don't like them because they're so mass forward and they don't balance well for me. And then years ago, I thought, oh, well, I'm going to upgrade. And I bought this stupid thing. And that was a waste of $200 because look at how it's mushroomed out. It's all mushroomed out. I use it more as a top tool now. No, I turned down Forged in Fire twice. They call that a French pattern. You're probably used to something more like that. This is my favorite cross peen. And it's probably a 2-pounder, something like that. Little one. We're doing fine work. So in another life, I had a lot to do with television production. I had a girlfriend who was very famous, had a television show of her own, and I had to follow her ass around and deal with television executives and television producers. And I put television producers right underneath corporate lobbyists. lawyers, corporate lobbyists, television producers as people that I want to hang out with. No. And of course, they make up the drama. And what nobody realizes about Forged in Fire is you only get paid if you win. You only get paid if you win. And so you're going to take, I think the minimum time was 8 days. So you got to drop what you're doing in your own blacksmith shop. You got to go use somebody else's shop. They were filming it in Connecticut. I don't know where they're filming it at now. So you have to fly back east, which I hate doing. And you might not win. And it can also ruin your life. So there's a guy I know that lives over in Powell who won it, went back to the championship, and it pretty much wrecked his life. He had to change his address, change his phone number. Everybody was bothering him all the time. And he did it as a hobby. It wasn't his job. And I just did, for me, it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. I don't enjoy those people. I don't want to hang around with them. I don't believe it's something that should be competitized, really. So there's my shape of that shoe. I hate it. Crafted blacksmithing doesn't seem like something you'd want to put time limits. Right, exactly. That's exactly right. And it's, you get in Forged in Fire, you actually your filming time minus the ads is about 23 minutes. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to Connecticut. I'm going to film for 8 days, and they're going to compact everything I do in 8 days into 23 minutes. It is really, really fake. I think it's fine. It's good, I guess. It's a good hobby for a lot of people. It is. I don't make my living making knives anymore because it's kind of turned everybody into a knife maker. So I used to do a lot more knives than I do now. Yeah. Oh, wrong file. Better? So I just turned that hind shoe into a front shoe. So, see, here's the previously forged hooks. We're going to switch this camera so you can watch me do the treadle hammer here. Here's the treadle hammer. Yeah, you could get set up pretty good for $500. If you really, really wanted to get it set up for 1,000, you could really set yourself up good. You know, Vbor now makes those Chinese cast anvils now, and they're fine. That's a fine anvil. You could get a 75-pound anvil for 150 to start. They're a fine anvil to use. These hammers, something like this is going to cost you about $80 now. And then you start with a set of tongs or two. Got to get yourself a forge. You can build yourself a forge for under $100. So $800, you could get set up pretty good. Be careful because I don't know what they're selling at Harbor Freight. So some of those anvils are like forging on a donut. They're cast iron anvils. You don't want a ductile iron anvil. You want a tool steel anvil. Yeah. You don't really need a 2-burner forge to begin with, but I use a single burner forge all day long here in the shop. The big thing is what you know in your mind. You got to learn how to make your own tools. You got to learn how to make your own tongs. You got to learn how to make your own chisels and punches and drifts and all that stuff. That's the most important. Go. Most of the time, I tell beginners to stay away from used anvils because you don't know what you're buying. You're better off to buy a new anvil. And the prices come down on them so much now that you're really better off to buy a new one. That way you know what you got. You're not getting some piece of junk that somebody has welded on the face and stuff. Yeah. If you're going to begin, if like nowadays, when I started 35, 36 years ago, there was no clubs, but virtually there's a blacksmith club everywhere now. There's a blacksmith club in Cody, Wyoming. Hello. I'm I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty good actually. guys have a lot more resources now than when I started. There was no such thing as an internet when I started, and so I had to learn through books and apprenticing. And there just wasn't that many blacksmiths 40 years ago left. It was kind of the end of the blacksmith. So I became a farrier. I started shoeing horses, and that's really how I learned how to blacksmith. Trying. I'm trying. If you like the content, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe and maybe go watch some of my other videos. And if you're interested in what I build and the production stuff that I do, you can. There's a link to my Etsy store, and you can go check it out. I just quenched that face off so I don't screw it up. And I'm going to round this up just a little more. Thing about a guy like John Switzer, Black Bear Forge, is he's not really making a living as a blacksmith, so he doesn't have to do production stuff. He's retired, he's getting Social Security, and he's getting a retirement. For me, I'm doing production stuff every day. I am. So these are I've done something like 100 of these in the last 3 weeks because these are going to be for a big order I'm doing. And so as a production guy, I'm kind of limited into the videos that I'm doing because I'm working on the same thing, every day. So appreciate it. So I'm going to quench those off. I'm going to quench those faces off because I don't want to bend on them. I don't want to bend that part of that horseshoe. And of course, I started my life as a farrier, so doing horseshoes is I make it look easy, but it's not easy. It's shaping horseshoes is very hard. They're springy. They bend in weird ways, especially horseshoes that have been worn because they're not even. When I say blacksmithing in real life, yeah, farrier work is hard. I did it for almost 25 years. This little forge is probably right now, it's probably 12 or 1300 degrees. It's not super hot. So I generally wouldn't do this, but we're filming, so I'm going to show you what I'm doing here. So we're going to move this over here to this little position. So this is just a coffee can with some water in it. And this is a bending tool that I've got made up. This is, so that's that scroll. I don't want to mess up the scroll, so I do a courtesy squench on it. Then I use the tool to bend the hook. That way I get them all the same. Sometimes I do it this way, sometimes I do them over the horn of the handle. Just depends on how I'm feeling. There's our hook. So let's see here. Buddy who swore by 1350, but 1100, 1200. Yeah. Yeah, and where I'm doing this lighter stuff, I don't have to have it really roaring. The good thing about a gas forge like this is I can turn it up, turn it down. One thing I like to do is to put a bit magnet on the bottom of any container that might want. Yeah. Thanks. I appreciate it very much. Every subscription helps. The live streams pay virtually nothing. So I come on the live streams. I'm not making any money on the live streams. And I get paid just micro for my video views. So, but it all helps. And of course, the more people that go and just interact with the Etsy store, like some stuff, that just brings more people into the Etsy, which is also fantastic. So I don't know, can you see this? So this is a little bending tool I made, and I just have a bunch of old sockets, 1/2-inch sockets. I just welded some 1/2-inch square stock. Bring it up here, maybe you can see it better. So that's just some 1/2-inch square stock welded onto 2 pieces of angle iron, and I've got them clamped in there. The good thing about that is I can do any kind of a bend I want. I just change out the socket, use a big socket, use a little socket. So I just quench that off so I don't mess it up. And then I can put it in this vise. And I can do my hooks. And I overbend them a little bit. And there's our hook. Thanks for the likes, everybody. I really, really appreciate it. So part of being a blacksmith is creating your own tools, generating your own tools, and So that's how I do that little scrolly end. So I can do that work with that smaller hammer, but if I'm doing production stuff, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll put 10 of something in the forge. I'll do all the step on 10 of them, and then I'll come back and I'll do the next step on all 10 of them instead of trying to do them one at a time. Much more productive to do step by step. And that's a good thing about a little forge like this is I can adjust the temperature and just, I don't have to worry about everything overcooking. I can just get the temperature set where I want, and then I can just roll through it all. Yeah, pretty easy. Pretty easy. Well, if you don't do much bending, having a tool like that works good because you don't have to have 17 different bending tools. You can just have one tool, set it up once, do whatever bends you got to do, and then put it away. And it takes no room up. So here's the one that I had before. It's just two pieces of angle iron welded together with a chain, so you have to keep them together with a couple of little round, and then so you can clamp them in a vise, and you can adjust them to any width you want to get whatever curve you need to be doing. If you make them high enough to do 1.5 or ½ inch, you can actually even do strap in them. So, but I adapted it so I could drop a socket over them. Works really good, and I've never seen anybody else do it. As far as I know, that's my idea, and I've never seen anybody else do it. Tong control. Managing your tongs. That's the hardest thing I teach any noob in this shop. To be able to tell when your tongs fit good, how to manipulate the tongs around, how to open and close the tongs one-handed. This is the hardest. This is actually the hardest thing. And the second hardest thing is the hammer control. I'm doing those little tiny heads, and if you're off a ½ inch on your hammer blow, you've screwed up your work. And I know I make it look really easy, but this is 36 years I've been swinging this hammer, 36 years. So okay, so we're going to bend this other hook up. So I'm just going to quench that. Here. That's a big time saver. Or I got to do hundreds and hundreds of them. I've literally done thousands of these little hooks. I am under no delusion that I am some great blacksmith. I'm really impressed with a couple of the guys like Greg Taka from World Champion Blacksmiths. His forgings, that guy's forging is the cleanest forgings I've ever seen anybody do. And I come from a time of Shane Carter and Jim Jay Sharp and a bunch of really good blacksmiths. But that Greg guy from Blacksmith Championship Blacksmiths, that guy is his horseshoes are as crisp as I've ever seen anybody ever do a horseshoe. And Brett Bailey, he does beautiful work. Some of those Swedish guys working on those axes. I mean, the whole thing is it's so specialized. Like the axe guy couldn't do a horseshoe, and the horseshoe guy couldn't do the tools that Brett Bailey does. I mean, it's so specialized, you know. Well, you might have somebody offer you a blacksmith, right? But I guarantee it's probably not going to be a lady in this chat. just FYI. Be careful what you wish for. You might find some pictures in your DMs later that you don't want, buddy. I hate to tell you. Or maybe you do. I can pretty much guarantee if you're looking for a mustache ride in this live stream, you better like eating ass. Because there ain't 5 women that watch me. Tone tones again. Doing 2 things, need 2 sets of tones. See, I do so many of those horseshoes that I've actually modified my anvil to do those. I'm cutting the nails off of these. Yeah, so I'm doing a half face blow. I'm flattening out the end of this shoe. So I'm taking this horseshoe, and these are a heel shoe, and they got a lot of mass in the back. And I'm flattening that out, but I don't flatten them out so much that I take out that ridge. That turns into the back of the head. And then I taper them, and then I do an offset blow on the near side of the anvil, halfway up that taper. And then I roll them back and forth to ease the edges because I'm trying to make them look kind of real. And then I go in with the round face of the hammer and I draw out the cheek. Let me see. I got one here. I'll show you. Let me put this in the forge. So you can see that I leave a little of the line behind the heel of that shoe. And then once I get that drawn down, and you can see that I draw them down tapered, they're tapered. I hang that over the face of the anvil, halfway right there like that, and I do a half face blow. And that's what makes the division between his nose and his cheek. And then on the back side of the shoe, I use the round face of the turning hammer. I tip it back so I can use this part of the face of the hammer, and I do the cheek, and that draws the cheek out even more. Yeah, it does change a little bit. You don't worry about the cheek. And I do those. I have some wall hooks that I make out of flat stock, bar stock. And but I just like the way these look, and I have a lot of these shoes laying around. I get hundreds and hundreds of these shoes, and it just makes a nice little line behind his eye. It makes him look just a little more realistic. And if you don't want to, mess up your anvil face like I did there, then you just get a tool that goes in your hardy. You just build a tool. Say you can make a tool that just drops into your hardy hole, and then you can do it over that. If you don't want to mess around with your anvil face, but this anvil has been welded on so much it doesn't matter. Yeah, you could do a chisel. You could do a chisel relief in there if you wanted to. I mean, look, you can do all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's so many things you can do to facilitate doing crazy stuff. You know? The big thing is you have to have the ability to make your own tools, because you're not going to go down to Ace and buy an eye punch. So my courtesy quench. Tons of them. Thousands. I've literally done thousands of those. I've literally done thousands. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yep, you too. Have a great day. I'll be going live. I go live all the time, but go watch some of my other videos. Go watch some of my other videos. That's really the way to help me out. That horseshoe has some quarter clips. I just smashed them down. Go back over here so you guys can watch this. Thank you. I appreciate you the subscriptions. I really do. It helps. Now we do his eyes. The next heat, I'll put him back in for a minute because I like to have. You're going to have a crisper eye and it's a lot easier on your tool. I probably got enough heat left in that I could do an eye punch, but I'll put it back in the forge for a little bit. Generally, if I was trucking along here and I was really getting, if I was just in production mode, I'd go ahead and I would have punched his eyes right there. You're looking for consistency. You want consistency. I'm not consistent this morning because I'm talking back and forth and I'm doing all of this stuff. But when you're rolling along, that's why in the production mode, it's really easy to do this because everything's the same temperature. Yeah. Well, I built this one, so, you know, and it does, it's not like a fancy one like that comes down straight. It's on a swing. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. For punching the eyes and dice, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I appreciate all the likes and everything, everybody. I really do appreciate it. Thanks for coming in this morning. I'm going to finish up the last of this stuff. I got this last horseshoe. A lot of guys like a heavier brush for this. I don't like the finish that a heavier brush puts on my work. So I use just a regular old, like a painter's brush. So that shoe's got pretty straight heels in it, and I want them to curve around more. So I'm going to heat up the back of that shoe, and I'll quench off those faces so I don't mess them up when I bend them. sequence, bender. More hooks. Draw out on this last hook. See, I like to do a lot of guys will just do a regular taper, but I do a set down. See how I do a set down on mine? I just like the way the hook rolls back around and goes into that set down better than just a regular taper. But that's just me. In the words of Bob Ross, you do it the way you want. No mistakes, just happy accidents. You do it the way you want. Do it the way you want to. Whatever is appealing to you. See, that's a little better. Yeah, just smaller knives. Yeah, no mistakes, just get it up and fork roll it back together and make it into something else. So when I started this ridiculousness 35 years ago, I was being a horseshoer. I went and I shot horses, and then I blacksmithed in the winter when you weren't shooting horses, because you don't shoe horses mostly up here in the north. Where I'm at, we don't shoe horses in the wintertime. It just creates a lot of problems, and so everybody jerks the shoes off of their horses unless you're using them from November through April or May. So you had to have something to do all winter. So that's how I got into the blacksmithing. I was horseshoeing in the summer and training horses, and then blacksmithing in the winter. I had an old timer, and I have some of his tools in this shop. John Dixon, who said, "You're never going to make a living as a blacksmith, NJ. You just can't do it." Well, that was 30 years ago, before the internet really took off. And he was right. I couldn't have made a living as a strictly blacksmith back then. But fast forward 30 years, and I'm not setting the world on fire. Honestly, I don't gross $30,000 a year. And a lot of places you're not going to be able to live on that money. But because I'm single and I live in the blacksmith shop, I don't have the rent on the blacksmith shop and the rent on a house. It works. It's the kind of lifestyle that I want. It isn't the lifestyle for everybody, but it works for me because I'm a loner and I'm a introvert. So anyway, you can make it work. If I had $10,000 to invest in this business, I'd buy a second power hammer, like these hooks. I would make up some tooling, and I would do the hooks in the power hammer, and I would just do a 6 months worth of the hooks in a day or two and get them out of the way. Same thing with all of the back plates for the hat racks and all that stuff. If I had the money, I would do that, but I don't. And so I do the stuff in the power hammer that I can do in the power hammer, and the rest I do with my muscle. Is there more efficient ways of doing what I do? Yeah, absolutely. Could I be more? Could I produce more stuff? Yeah, I could probably produce 10 or 15% more stuff than I'm producing right now in the same amount of time if I was a little more efficient. But it's a way off. So it's, you know, I'm 53. So do I have another 10 years? Maybe, if I take care of myself. Not much. I don't get much from these live streams. So many people that watch the live streams are not even in the United States. And so I don't sell out of the United States on the Etsy store. My Etsy store is down a lot from last year. My Etsy store is down about 40% from last year. I think that has a lot to do with the economy. I used to hunt a lot. But I used to hunt a lot when I was feeding a family. But it's just me now. And it would be absolutely wasteful for me to go kill an elk because I couldn't eat a whole elk by myself. I just couldn't do it. The last couple of years, I've put in to draw for a antelope tag, but they've got it so screwed up in the state of Wyoming that I haven't drawn one. We're going to put in again this year. All right, you too. Thanks everybody for the likes. Thanks for everybody coming in. I'm going to finish up this last bit of stuff I got. See, when I do that set down on those hooks, see how that rolls back into that little set off, and it makes it so when you're hanging clothes and stuff on them, your hook doesn't get hooked up on your clothes. I don't know. I don't know if it makes any difference or not. It's just the way I do it. Yeah, it's a real culture out here in Wyoming. A lot of people move to Wyoming just for the hunting culture. And because they've done that, they've kind of screwed it up for all of us locals. Like I used to go every spring, I used to go hunt horn. And I would, you know, because the elk and the deer, they shed their horns every spring. And so I'd go and I'd hunt horn. But I don't do that anymore because there's guys who do it so professionally that they're already out hunting. And it's just the 1st of March now. And so I don't even mess with it anymore. I don't feel like fighting with the grizzly bears. I don't feel like fighting with the people from Utah that come up here and hunt horn. I just don't. They kind of screwed it up for us. So this is the last one I'm going to be able to show you guys doing that. So I'll go ahead and show it to you. See, like that right there, having that extra handle length is nice because I can get out of my own way. I don't have to worry about burning my fingers with the extra handle. So I like having a longer handled hammer. Traditionally, they say you shouldn't do it. Whoop. Oh, shit. Shit. Land on the cord. We're going to finish up this last face on the last side of this shoe. But if anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Use my experience. Look, you young guys have it so much easier. You know, if you want to fix your own car, there is 1,000 videos on YouTube that'll teach you how to do it. So if you have the motivation to do it and you have the fortitude to do that kind of stuff, you can do anything, and you don't, and it's free. And that was not an issue. That was not how it went when I was 20. The internet was brand new. There was nothing on it. You know, I've got 1,100 videos on YouTube, and most of that stuff is learning. Most of that is me teaching people how to do this. So you have a huge resource that generations previous didn't have. So all you're investing this little time, and the great thing is you can fast forward through it. Oh, he's talking about his cats. Oh, his wife bringing him lunch. Oh, so you don't even have to waste any time watching all the dribble. One ugly horse. He's going to be an ugly one. He's going to have a little longer nose, but oh well. No mistakes. Happy accidents. He's going to be a long-faced horse. Oh well. You know, I do all kinds of forging. I don't just do this stuff. I mean, I do all kinds of forgings, and you can see 30 years, 20 years of my forgings on the Facebook page. But 90% of what I'm doing is this stuff because that's how I'm making my living. Back to the treadle hammer. the good thing is if I really screw up a face, I can just cut it off and use the other side for something else if I really screw one up. And it does happen once in a while. I mean, he's going to be fine. Hello. So now we'll do his eyes. And he doesn't have to be real hot to do his eyes, and I probably could have done his eyes right there, but I'll take the minute. I'll come over here. I'll reset the camera so you can see what I'm doing. So when I say you got to learn how to make your own tools, this is why. So you can't just go down to Ace Hardware and buy an eye punch. You have to be able to make your own. Hello. I'm working. Every day. I'm toiling away. Keeps me out of the bar. And I'm growing my whiskers back a little bit, and then when I get it by next week, I'll shave it down and it'll be back to the mustache again, probably. Maybe I'll leave some big sideburns. I always get bored, so I am always doing something stupid with my facial hair. Okay, chew, eye punch. Make sure you got it set the right way. Turned out all right. Get the brush. Use the tongs to push the shoe into the handle. Make sure you like it. I think I got this shoe really straight, so I'm going to go ahead and curve these in. If I leave them like that, they don't fit in the box very good, so I'm going to curve them in, and that makes them sit together when I'm shipping them a little easier. Thanks for all the likes. I really appreciate it. So these are back plates for hat racks. Just a second. So these are a wall-mounted hat rack. So this goes against the wall like that. You screw it into the wall, and then you can hang your hat on here like that. And it keeps your hat from touching the wall. And if your hat's wet, it allows the rain to run off of your hat, and it also helps keep your hat shaped right. Because if you hang your hat like that, they get flat. If you hang your hat like that, they get weird. So I found that that's the best way to hang your hat. But you can use them for anything: hard hats, ball caps, whatever. But that's what they are. So part of the reason you got to have a dark shop is if your shop's got too good a light in it, you can't tell what color your work is. And so if you ever go into a blacksmith shop and they're really dark, that's why. Because you've got to be able to, you're looking for a color work. So you know when everything gets up to forging temperature. All right, everybody. Here we go. Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it. If you like the content, please subscribe and go watch some of my other videos. Share them if you think your friends would like it. If you really want to help, you can go over to the Cody Ironworks Etsy store and share some love. And I always end with this. Get it hot and hit it, and always wear your safety squints. Thanks, everybody.